You're waiting, not for permission, for proof. Not for a miracle, for a signal. You're waiting for the outer world to hand you the energy you already carry. Let me throw a truth at you that will feel uncomfortable and unfair and strangely liberating all at once. Nothing outside of you can create the life you want on its own. No playlist, no motivational quote pinned to a wall, no mentor's speech will turn empty hours into momentum unless you decide right now to make the internal switch. This video isn't about inspiration that fades like a spark. It's about the power you keep hidden in plain sight, the thing that can turn a small decision into the compound engine of success. You have to stop treating motivation like a trophy to chase and start treating it like a muscle to build. You have to learn to start from inside every time. Picture this. The environment is neutral. The calendar doesn't care. The applause is uncertain. You are the only variable that actually moves outcomes. If you accept that, then everything changes. If you deny it, you will spend your life blaming weather, people, schedules, timing, any of the infinite things that conveniently don't require work. Which will you choose? The moment you answer, that is power. Understand this first. External motivation is seductive because it is easy. It's the push that comes when a crowd roars, when a deadline blares, when adrenaline spikes. But it is inconsistent. It's borrowed momentum. The deeper kind of drive, the kind that stays when everything around you collapses, grows from decisions you make internally and train into habit. That's what we'll build. Let's demolish excuses politely, but thoroughly. I don't have time. You do. You have choices. Time is a mirror, not an enemy. I need inspiration. Replace that with discipline disguised as action. I'll start when I feel ready. That's a polite form of giving up. Read that last line again. I'll start when I feel ready is not preparedness, it's avoidance wearing a comfortable mask. Now feel this next idea in your chest. Motivation is not a feeling you wait to catch. It's an identity you step into. You don't say, I want to be consistent. You say, I am the kind of person who shows up. The words you use are the scaffolding of who you become. Say the sentence out loud. I am the kind of person who shows up. Say it until your throat grows tired. That's not fluff. It's cognitive architecture. Napoleon Hill said, we become what we think about. But let me sharpen that. We become who we act like we are, moment by moment. If you're honest, your internal voice is a crowded room of critics, laziness, and habit. That voice is the gatekeeper. You can either let it chatter and set your limits, or you can teach it to become your ally. Start by changing the grammar of your thoughts. Instead of I'll try, say I will do. Instead of I'll see, say I'll decide. Try this now. Pick one small thing you have been trying to do and change the verb in your mind to a commitment. That tiny grammar shift changes the chemical reaction in your decision system. Here's a practical experiment. Commit to 5 minutes. Don't commit to perfection or a full routine or an hour. Commit to 5 minutes of focused action on the thing you keep avoiding. Do it now. Yes, this instant. Or promise it to yourself for the next immediate block of time. Not later, not next week, not soon. 5 minutes. You will be surprised how often 5 minutes grows into 50. The brain hates ambiguity and rewards movement. Movement creates clarity, and clarity fuels further movement. Let's talk about meaning. Motivation without meaning is a cup with a hole in the bottom. If you don't have a reason that pierces your mediocrity, any gust of external praise will evaporate your effort. So dig into the why that won't let you sleep. Not the surface, I want money or I want recognition. Dig deeper. I want to build something for my kids to inherit emotionally. Or I want to prove to myself that I can finish what I start. Or I want freedom to design my days. When your why is emotionally anchored, it acts like internal fuel. Write it down, bubble it in your mind, repeat it until it moves you. Next, reframe failure. You are not failing, you are constructing feedback. Every misstep is a measurement. If you are alive and trying, you are learning. People who never fail rarely attempt anything risky enough to change their lives. So take the sting out of mistakes by making them routine. Normalize iteration. Make small bets and learn fast. The fastest way out of stuckness is curiosity, not shame. You will also need rituals. Rituals make internal power automatic. Choose 2-3 non-negotiable tiny rituals that anchor your day. They can be as simple as a 5-minute cold water on your face, writing 3 sentences about your priorities, or a 10-minute focused work period before checking your phone. Stick with the ritual until it becomes hygiene. When your rituals run, motivation no longer shouts for attention, it quietly does the work. Now, let's challenge a deep cultural myth. Motivation must feel grand. It doesn't. Most meaningful work is routine, boring, and stubborn. The rare glory moments are built on thousands of dull, repetitive actions. Decide you are willing to do the dull work because it is the only way to reach the interesting work. That decision alone separates those who play with goals and those who actually achieve them. You've probably heard people say, I need discipline. Good, but discipline isn't a punishment, it's an investment. Treat it as a training program for your future self. Imagine your future self as a person you owe effort to. How would you speak to them? Invest in them now so they can thank you later. When you frame discipline as kindness to the future you, grit becomes an act of love, not a chore. Let's talk about the language inside your head again, because it's that important. Notice one recurring negative thought this week. Write it down. Now, write a counter statement that is true and actionable. Make it short. Repeat it like a mantra until it dislodges the old thought. This is not magic, it's mental plumbing. Clear out the sludge and water flows where you need it. Practice one more thing, the micro-commitment. The micro-commitment is the smallest, bold thing you can do right now that proves to yourself that you are not just someone who plans, you are someone who acts. Maybe it is sending the first email, cleaning your workspace, recording your intro, or walking for 15 minutes with intention. Choose the micro-commitment that will make tomorrow's decision easier. Then do it. Remember, this is not merely motivational pep talk. This is strategy for creating an internal engine. The world will always throw distractions, delays, and disorder at you. The only thing that reliably transforms chaos into progress is a system you control from the inside. Build that system with intention. Before we close this part and move into concrete tools for reprogramming your mind in the next section, I want you to do one short thing. Commit to a 5-minute action right now on something you've delayed. Then come back and write in the comments what you did and how you felt afterward. Share one honest detail, not the polished highlight, but the real thing. Question for you. What's the smallest act you can do today that would make you believe, even for a moment, that you are the person who can follow through? Write that down and tell me. I want to hear the truth. Part 2. You have more power in your thinking than you've been taught to believe. Not because thought alone wins battles, but because thought builds the track your actions run on. If your mindset is a crooked track, every effort will derail. Reprogramming your thinking is not optional, it's tactical. It's where the game changes from hoping to executing. This part is about cleaning the lens you look through so your actions land where you intend. First, admit that some of your beliefs are borrowed. Parents, teachers, culture, past failures. Each left a fingerprint on how you see possibilities. Those fingerprints are invisible until you look closely. So look. Ask yourself, which beliefs do I repeat that are not mine? Which stories do I tell that make inaction safe? Name them. Naming is the first cut. Once you name the thought, it loses the automatic right to run your day. Here's a simple test for an old belief. If it begins with, I always, or I'm just not, it's probably a habit of thought, not a truth. Write down 3 such statements you catch yourself saying. Don't judge them, simply list them. Now, for each, ask, who taught me this? Is it accurate? What evidence contradicts it? You'll find holes. Good. That's your entry point. Now let's get tactical with the most powerful agent you own, your internal dialogue. The voice in your head is a scriptwriter and director all at once. If it is untrained, it will default to safety and stasis. But you can teach it to be a coach. Start by noticing the grammar of your inner sentences. Does your inner voice say, I'll try, I should, I can't, or maybe? Replace those soft verbs with decisive verbs and watch behavior align. Change I'll try to I will begin. Change I should to I will, or better yet, I choose. Change I can't into how can I? That turns limitation into a question, and questions are open doors. Let me give you a micro practice that rewires dialogue fast. It's called the reframe sprint. For 10 minutes, catch every negative or wishy-washy thought. Write each down as it appears. Immediately under each, write a counterstatement that is short, present tense, and actionable. Example, I'm not good enough. To, I will do the next small thing that proves I'm improving. Say the counterstatement out loud 3 times. Say it with intent. Do one small action that supports that new statement within the next hour. Do this for 5 days and watch the voice inside you shift from a critic to an experimenter. You will also need to acknowledge the influence of language on identity. The words I want and I will are not equal. I want is desire. I will is selection. When you switch your language to ownership, your brain begins to map identity to your commitments. Napoleon Hill hinted at this when he said we become what we think about. I'll push that further. We become who we act as if we already are. So practice acting as if. Plan one action each day that a person you respect would take, even if you're not comfortable yet. The discomfort is the currency of growth. Beliefs are not changed by argument. They are changed by experience and repetition. That's why small wins are sacred. Start a streak that matters. Not a streak for social media applause, but a streak that proves to you you can be consistent. Choose a single, non-negotiable practice for the next 30 days. It can be as small as writing 250 words, doing 10 pull-ups, or walking 30 minutes with your phone off. Keep it visible. Track it publicly if you must. The streak will teach you an identity. The person who does the thing beats willpower 9 times out of 10. Now, let's address fear in your thinking. Fear isn't an enemy to be exercised, it's data to be examined. When fear shows up, don't run from the finger pointing at the truth. Ask the finger a question. What is this fear telling you about risk? What useful signal is beneath the noise? You will discover fear often exaggerates the downside and buries evidence of capability. Turn fear into a detective. Ask, what small test can I run to prove whether this fear is accurate? Run the test. Learn fast. Iterate. The other crucial aspect of the inner game is the company you keep inside your mind. Internal suggestions run like playlists. Are they inspirational or eroding? Replace vague motivational playlists with practical prompts. Don't scroll for motivation. Program your home screen, your notes app, your morning routine with precise commands. Start. Focus for 25. Ship one thing. Little prompts reduce friction between intention and action. You must also defend your attention. Attention is the raw material of thought. If you let your attention be siphoned into shallow noise, your deep beliefs will never receive the repetition they require. Build attention rituals. Block a focused window in your calendar, turn off notifications, and make decisions about your attention like a curator. Curators choose what to expose. You should curate your cognitive environment. Let's talk about the habit of evaluation. Most people either catastrophize failures or gloss over them. Neither helps. Adopt a 3-step evaluation cycle for your thoughts and actions. Observe what happened, neutrally. Learn what's the single most useful lesson. Adjust what will you change in the next cycle. This cycle keeps your mind flexible and honest. It also trains curiosity, which is the enemy of defeatism. One more practice I want you to own: the identity sentence. Create a 1-line identity sentence that describes who you are becoming. Keep it short and present tense. Examples: I am a person who finishes what I start, or I am someone who builds momentum daily. Put this sentence where you will see it first thing in the morning. Repeat it. Live into it. Make decisions that honor it. Over months, not weeks, this sentence will weld into your behavior. Finally, expect resistance. Your old beliefs have tenure. They will appear as nostalgia, as caution, as rational reasons to delay. Thank the resistance for its loyalty. It kept you safe once. Then politely move forward anyway. Consistency makes new beliefs boring, and boring beliefs become default. Before we close this part, do one concrete thing from this section now. Reframe one negative sentence you habitually tell yourself into an actionable present tense identity sentence. Say it out loud 3 times, then type it in the comments and tell us what action you will take in the next hour to honor that new sentence. Be specific. Reject the vague. The community here will read, and real accountability changes everything. Question for you. If your inner voice could speak only one truth about you starting today, what would you want it to say? Share that truth, write it down, and tell us below. Part 3. Action is the acid test. Thinking about winning is not the same as winning. Planning feels productive because it keeps you safe in the realm of imagination. Action feels risky because it forces a result. If you want momentum, you must become someone who prefers the discomfort of movement to the comfort of stalling. This part is about building a bias toward action. Not reckless action, but relentless, intelligent motion. You will learn to start before you feel ready and to let doing create feeling. Let's begin with a sharp truth. The gap between who you are and who you want to be is closed by repeated, small acts taken with intent. Not massive dramatic changes, but steady, consistent motion. You've heard the phrase small wins. It's not a cute aphorism, it's an operating system. Each small win sends a chemical message to your brain. You can do this. That message compounds. One small win begets the next and the next. Build a habit of small wins, and you will no longer be hostage to motivation. Here's the tactical way to get started. Decide, prepare, execute. That's your triad. Decide, make a clear, immediate commitment that cuts off wishy-washy verbs. Prepare, remove friction that will make you stall. Execute, begin within 5 minutes. If you can train yourself to follow this triad on repeat, you will turn planning into doing. Start with a list of the things you habitually postpone. Put them on paper. Now pick the one that, if started, would create the most momentum. Not the easiest, the one with the most leverage. Now break it into the smallest possible first action. The trick is to make the first action so small that inertia can't refuse it. If you need to write a chapter, your first action could be open a blank document and type the title. If you need to call someone, your first action is open your contacts and find the number. That first tiny step is the hardest to imagine, but the easiest to do when framed correctly. There's also a hunger inside you for immediacy. Your brain rewards instant consequences more than delayed benefits. That's why small, immediate actions are so powerful. They give you immediate feedback and ignite the reward system. Use that knowledge. Create micro feedback loops. Set a timer for 25 minutes, do focused work, then mark a single checkbox. The visual progress is fuel. Use a timer. Ship something small. Celebrate the checkbox. Repeat. Decision-making is the muscle of action. Indecision bleeds energy. Every minute you spend oscillating between options is a minute drained from your forward movement. Cultivate decisiveness by making low-cost decisions fast and saving clarity for the big ones. Want a practical drill? For a week, force yourself to decide within 2 minutes on non-critical things. What to eat, which email to answer first, which 20-minute block to use for personal work. The habit of quick, clean decisions reduces cognitive load and frees energy for meaningful choices. Initiative looks like starting without being asked. That sounds simple, and it's terrifying for many. Initiative requires vulnerability. You risk being wrong, criticized, or ignored. That's why most people hide behind instructions. But people who lead create their own opening moves. If you want to be that person, begin by volunteering for small responsibilities and owning the outcome. Start with things that matter to you personally and scale the method. Initiative compounds. The more you start, the more others expect you to start, and the more confidence you gain. There's a decisive mindset called do first, feel later. It's anti-mood dependency. Waiting for mood is a luxury you can't afford when you want results. The ritual is simple. Pick an action, set a timer for 5 minutes, and begin. No negotiation. No planning longer than 5 minutes. Action dissolves anxiety by giving your body proof that progress exists. The emotional reward follows the physical evidence. You also need to understand the power of launched, imperfect work. Perfectionism masquerades as quality, but often it's a method of avoidance. An imperfect start that lands in the world gives you data. A perfect idea sitting in your head gives you nothing. Ship early, iterate fast. The market of reality will tell you what to improve. Your imagination will keep inventing excuses. Let reality be your teacher. Another core tactic, the 2-minute rule. If an action takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. This stops small tasks from organizing your life into procrastination. It's simple, but its cumulative effect is enormous. 2 minutes keeps the floor clean and your attention uncluttered. Apply the rule ruthlessly for one day and observe how much cleaner your mental desk becomes. When you face big, scary tasks, use the one-step escalator, a ladder of progressively larger actions. Start with a micro task you can finish in under 5 minutes. After that, commit to the next, slightly larger step. Keep escalating until you're doing meaningful work. The escalator works because it reduces cognitive friction and turns dread into a sequence of doable moves. Decision plus action are powerful, but you also need a mechanism to protect your doing. Structure your environment so that energy flows toward the action you want to take. If you want to write every morning, keep your laptop open and the document visible. If you want to exercise, place your workout clothes where you will walk past them. Design your physical and digital spaces to favor the moves you want to make. When resistance rises, your environment should have already nudged you forward. Let's talk about accountability, the friend who shows up when your resolve wavers. Accountability works because it externalizes the cost of an action. But the best accountability is internalized. You create agreements with yourself and then track them publicly. Find a partner, a group, or even a simple public log where you mark daily progress. The shame of not showing up is a powerful motivator when you intentionally set it up. A special word here for planning that kills action: over-planning. Plans are useful, but they must never become the why of motion. Use a plan as a map, not as a reason to delay. Set a horizon. Plan the minimum you need and then act. Revision is part of the process. The world reveals itself through action. Allow your plan to change as you learn. Now a quick psychological lever. Imagine the regret of not starting. Regret is a long-tail emotion that compounds. Picture yourself 1 year from now. What will you regret more? Starting and failing, or never starting at all? Most people regret the things they didn't try. Keep that image at hand when you hesitate. Let the fear of long-term regret be louder than the fear of short-term discomfort. Before we wrap this section, perform one action. Pick the one high-leverage task you've been avoiding, the one where starting would create a cascade of next moves. Break it into the smallest first step. Do that step now, within 5 minutes of finishing this sentence. If you can't do it now, schedule that exact 5-minute block in the next hour and protect it like a meeting with your most valuable person, you. Write in the comments what you started and what the immediate result felt like. Be raw, not polished, not edited. Real action has messy beginnings. Tell us the exact first step you took and how it moved you. Your small victory will be someone else's ignition. Question for you. What one action, if you committed to it daily for the next 30 days, would change your trajectory the most? Tell us which action and why. Be specific and make it measurable. Part 4. Habits are the silent architects of your life. While motivation roars and fades, habits quietly rearrange your days until your behavior becomes the default. If you want a life that runs on internal fuel, you must design your habits like an engineer builds a bridge, with intention, redundancy, and tiny testable parts. Discipline isn't punishment, it's design. It's the structure you build so that when motivation thins, the machine keeps running. First, understand the anatomy of a habit. Every habit has 3 parts: a cue, a routine, and a reward. The cue tells your brain to start, the routine is the behavior, and the reward tells your brain this loop is worth remembering. If you want a new habit, you must manipulate one of those components. Change the cue so it appears reliably, make the routine impossibly small, tie a reward to it that your brain actually values. Small wins at the start program your brain to repeat the loop. Start ridiculously small. If your goal is to exercise, don't declare you'll do an hour at the gym every day. Start with 5 push-ups. If your goal is to write, don't set a bar of a chapter. Open a document and write 1 sentence. Tiny actions reduce friction and defeat that internal stall called resistance. When you lower the activation energy for the first move, you win the most important battle, beginning. Stack habits. Habit stacking is the clever trick of gluing a new habit onto a pre-existing routine so the cue is already built into your day. After you brush your teeth, write one sentence. After you boil your morning water, read one page. Use your existing behavior as scaffolding for the new behavior. The less invention required, the easier it is to do consistently. Design your environment for success. Your environment is the operating system for your habits. If you want to eat better, don't have junk food in the house. If you want to focus, keep your phone in another room during your deep work blocks. Remove friction for the things you want and add friction for the things you don't want. Little nudges matter. Put your running shoes next to the bed, place your notebook on the coffee table, close distracting tabs. Build a context where the path of least resistance leads toward the person you want to become. Use the power of if-then plans. Implementation intentions are simple and ruthless. If X happens, then I will do Y. If I feel resistance at 9 a.m., then I will set a 10-minute timer and work. If I get distracted by my phone, then I will put it face down and breathe for 30 seconds. These plans remove decision fatigue because they make responses automatic. You win once you convert choice into a default. Track and measure progress. Human psychology loves streaks. A visible chain of completed days creates momentum. Use a calendar, a habit app, or an old-fashioned checklist. Don't obsess over perfection, celebrate the chain. The goal is not perfection, it's consistency. Some days will be 100%, others 20%. The chain rewards persistence, not perfection. Commitment devices are your allies. Make it costly to quit. Public commitments, financial penalties, or third-party accountability raise the stakes in a helpful way. Tell a friend you'll run 5 mornings a week and ask them to check in. Put money on the line that you lose if you don't follow through. Humans hate losing social credibility and money. Use that to your advantage. Discipline is like a muscle. You build it through progressive overload. Start with small reps and increase gradually. Resist the temptation to sprint too early. The people who last are the ones who start slow and accelerate. Create a schedule that gently expands what you're able to do, and protect that schedule like a contract with your future self. Each day you honor the contract strengthens. Don't confuse willpower with strategy. Willpower is finite. Strategy is renewable. When you rely solely on willpower, you'll eventually run out. Instead, design systems that minimize willpower demands. Automate decisions, pre-pack your actions, script your responses. Make your good behavior the simplest path. That's how discipline becomes the path of least resistance, rather than a drag. Reward yourself intelligently. Small, immediate rewards after completing a habit close the loop in your brain. The reward doesn't have to be indulgent. It can be a 2-minute break, a walk outside, or a single line in your journal noting progress. The trick is to reinforce without destroying momentum. Reward signals communicate to your nervous system that the habit is worth doing again. Replace, don't just remove. If you try to eliminate a bad habit without offering a substitute, your brain will search for something to fill the void. When you decide to stop doom scrolling, provide a replacement. Open a book, make a call, do 5 minutes of breathing. The replacement must satisfy the same need: escape, stimulation, comfort, but in a healthier form. The aim is not deprivation, it's substitution. Create keystone habits. Keystone habits are actions that produce ripple effects across other areas of your life. Common keystone habits include consistent sleep, daily movement, journaling, and planning your day each morning. When one keystone habit lands, others follow. If you can hold 2 or 3 keystone habits consistently, your overall system becomes far easier to manage. Use temptation bundling to your advantage. Pair a habit you resist with a pleasure you enjoy. Only allow yourself to listen to your favorite podcast while running. Only watch a TV episode after completing your 30 minutes of focused work. The pleasure becomes the hook for the discipline, and over time, the discipline becomes associated with positive feelings. Practice the art of the reset. You will fail. Streaks will break. When they do, don't fall into the "I blew it, might as well quit" trap. A reset is a conscious decision. You observe what happened, learn a single improvement, and begin again. The fastest path to mastery is the ability to restart quickly with humility and intelligence. Don't moralize failure. Analyze it. Failure is data, not identity. Anchor your habits to identity. Say less about what you want and more about who you are. "I am someone who exercises" is different than "I want to exercise more." Identity-based habits are sticky because they connect action to self-image. Every time you act in alignment with that identity, you reinforce it. If you miss a day, you aren't a failure, you're a person who missed a day and will take another. Keep your identity sentence short and repeat it until it feels normal. Use the 5-minute meditation to strengthen discipline. Quiet the noise for 5 minutes and observe your impulses. The practice doesn't have to be mystical. It's exercise for your attention. The clearer your attention, the less your habits are hijacked by reactive impulses. Discipline grows when your attention becomes a tool rather than a victim. Finally, make the payoff visible. We're humans. We need to see that effort moves the needle. Create simple metrics that show progress. Pages written, minutes practiced, dollars saved, reps completed. Visual progress is fuel for longer commitment. When you can see the arc, you trust the process more deeply. Now I want you to pick one habit you will commit to for the next 30 days. Make it tiny and non-negotiable. Describe the cue, the routine, and the reward. Put it somewhere visible. Share it in the comments with the exact first action you will take in the next hour to begin that habit. The more specific you are, the more real it becomes. Question for you. Which single habit, if you practiced it daily without fail for the next 30 days, would change the way you see yourself more than anything else? Tell us what it is and how you'll make it non-negotiable. Part 5. This is the part where everything comes together, not as a neat checklist, but as a living system you choose to carry. You learned to notice the voice inside, reframe your thoughts, take small decisive actions, and build habits that hold when motivation fades. Now you will assemble those pieces into an integrated engine, a sustainable way of living that runs on internal fuel. If you do this, you won't rely on peaks of emotion or the approval of others. You will cultivate a reliable source of momentum, yourself. Start by seeing your life as a workshop. In a workshop, every tool has a place and a purpose. Every tool is maintained and used intentionally. Your mind, your habits, your rituals, your environment, each is a tool. Your job is to inventory them, tune them, and put them where they are most effective. That requires honesty. It requires asking the hard question, which tool is rusty and which tool is missing? Be exact. The clarity makes decisions immediate and ruthless. Integration begins with a simple map: values, goals, daily architecture. Values are your North Star. They decide the trade-offs. Goals are the destinations you choose. Daily architecture is the plan you follow every single day to orient toward those goals. If your values are inconsistent with your daily architecture, you will feel friction every morning. Resolve that. Write your top 3 values, Then write one concrete action you will take each day that proves those values true. That is identity alignment in practice. Next, make your morning sequence sacred. How you begin your day programs how your day proceeds. I don't mean a long ritual that becomes another chore. I mean a lean, effective morning anchor that primes your focus. It can be 5 minutes of writing, 10 minutes of movement, or a short planning ritual that clarifies the single priority. The morning is your daily reset when internal fuel is most available. Use it to set the intention that your actions will follow. Now stitch your work blocks together with transitions. Life is not just about the big focused hours, but about how you move between them. Create micro transitions that tell your brain the context has changed. A walk around the block, 3 deep breaths, a single sentence in a notebook. These transitions reduce friction and keep momentum high. When you harvest momentum between tasks, you stitch days into weeks and weeks into real progress. A crucial piece of integration is feedback loops. Every system needs measurement. Decide what matters and measure it weekly. Not to punish yourself, but to gather signals. Are your efforts leading to progress? Which experiments failed and why? Which habits are scaling? Use that data to tweak, not to judge. Earl Nightingale taught that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Tracking helps you see whether your trajectory is progressive. Equally important is energy management. You cannot perform on an empty tank. Energy isn't only sleep and calories, it's focus, joy, and the absence of chronic friction. Audit your life for energy drains, relationships that deplete, commitments that distract, digital noise that chew attention. Eliminate or minimize those drains. Replace them with small restoratives. A 10-minute walk, a meaningful call, a short creative task that lights you up. The compound of small restoratives fuels big output. Community matters. You are not building this alone, even if the work is internal. The right people accelerate your growth. Find peers who stretch you and mirror the habits you want. Seek a mentor or a critic who tells truth kindly. But be picky. Proximity matters more than quantity. One consistent, honest friend will influence you more than dozens of polite admirers. Put yourself where growth is normal. Learn to ritualize rest. Many people treat rest as a reward, not a necessity. That's backward. Rest is part of your production system. Schedule deep rest like a meeting you cannot cancel. Protect it. It will sharpen your decisions, fortify your will, and increase your capacity to act when it matters. When you honor rest, you honor the long game. Now, a practical method to bind everything. The weekly playbook. On one page, write your top priorities for the week, no more than 3, the keystone habits you will defend, and one measurable outcome you will move. At the end of the week, review what shifted and why. Keep the document short. Make it actionable. The playbook becomes your operating manual, a living file that keeps you honest and recalibrates your identity into action. Another vital integration is learning to scale your rituals and habits in seasons. Life has peaks and valleys. You won't deliver the same volume every week. Design your system with phases. Build focus, amplify output, rest, and recalibrate. Seasonal thinking prevents the shame spiral when life intensifies and gives you permission to ramp down when needed without losing identity. Napoleon Hill advised focused persistence, and modern persistence is strategic, not stubbornness that breaks you, but steady insistence that adapts. Now, embrace the ritual of review. Once a month, sit down for 30 minutes with your playbook, your metrics, and the unvarnished truth. Ask these questions. What became easier? What became harder? Which identity statements are true? Which need repair? This ritual is a signal to your brain that growth is intentional and measurable. It also trains humility, the clarity that you are both the builder and the apprentice. Finally, make a covenant with your future self. Not vague promises, but a simple pact. I will take the smallest, bold step today to honor who I want to become. Commit to the micro pledge now. Choose the small, specific action you will do every day for the next 30 days that aligns with your values. It could be writing 300 words, moving your body 15 minutes, or reaching out to one person who matters. Name the action. Put it in your playbook. Begin it immediately. This is the last section, not because the work ends, but because it's the moment to start building a life that runs on its own momentum. Your task is not to gather more advice. Your task is to assemble the tools you already have and use them daily. The world will continue to wobble and test you. The difference is that when it does, your system will take the hits and keep producing. Now, do one concrete thing. Write your one-sentence identity statement and the single daily action you will commit to for the next 30 days. Put them where you will see them first thing each morning. Then share them in the comments, not polished marketing, but honest, and name the exact first step you will take in the next hour. Question for you. If you could describe your new I in one word, what would it be? Tell us that one word and then name the first small action that word requires from you today. If this message landed for you and you feel the shift even a little, if you're ready to turn thinking into doing, write it below. Let the first public proof of your new momentum be a sentence in the comments. If you found this series helpful, subscribe and like. It helps bring these ideas to more people and keeps this community fueled.